Happy birthday, dear Pac Man. Happy birthday to you. I'm here with David Bishop, Senior Vice President and COO of NAMCO Cybertainment, Inc. He is here today for Pac Man's 30th anniversary event up in the Best Buy Rotunda, and it's been a very, very wild day. A lot of traffic up there, isn't it?
Been exhausting.
It's been exhausting.
A lot of people.
Yeah, I've been up there numerous times, and it's been a very well-attended event. As we normally do when folks come through, sometimes we crowdsource for questions, and we've had a lot of traffic generated on our social media sites because we've got a lot of video game enthusiasts. And so I've gathered some questions from our fans, and I'm going to start off with, what is the origin of Mr. and Ms. Pac-Man's shape and design?
The original idea behind the shape, I mean, the story, there's a very famous story about the designer of Pac Man, Mr. Iwatani, and he was having dinner one night, and he was having pizza, and he was trying to come up with his design for a new game character, and he looked down at his pizza with the slice already taken out of the pizza pie and saw it and said, oh my God, that's it. And this, partially fable, I'm sure, but that's the way the story really goes, is that it was a pizza shape.
Can you give us a glimpse of the future of gaming? What's your opinion on things like 3D and artificial intelligence, or just what's going to happen? What are you thinking?
I think gaming is becoming a much more social experience. I think gaming is about interacting with other people, and I think as we move forward into the future, that's really what we're talking about, is how do we keep people entertained in a social environment as opposed to just one-on-one or solitary gaming. So I think I see things heading into a more realistic, a more immersive environment, but also a much more socially interactive environment.
With technology and advancements, I think there's a lot of talk about things like 3D and, augmented realities and artificial intelligence, but I do think that interactive component is much more important. Do you have any insight on that, kind of like the technology versus the interactivity?
Technology is wonderful, but I mean, technology doesn't make a great game. I mean, a game has to be entertaining and it has to be an experience. And so what we talk about a lot when we're looking at where we're going with gaming is how do we keep people enjoying the experience, but how do we immerse them into it? And so I think you're going to see a lot of gaming that is going to be social. It is going to be it's not a joystick with buttons anymore. It's all about very intuitive control experiences, and to the point that you're going to see no controllers, and what you're already seeing now with I guess with Xbox coming out with their Kinectix platform.
Was there a game whose popularity has surprised you?
Ironically, I would say the biggest surprise I've ever had in gaming was Pac Man. I remember seeing Pac Man back in 1981 when it really came into the U.S. I mean, Pac Man was born in 1980 in Japan, came here to the U.S. in 1981. And I remember looking at it when it first came out, and I was going to college at that point, but I was working in an arcade, believe it or not. And I looked at it and I said, well, that's interesting. And most of the executives I talked to that were there at the time when it came out were like, it's interesting, but they were looking for a driving game. They were looking for things that Americans they thought would like. And so no one really anticipated that Pac Man would become the phenomenon that it was. So I would say the biggest surprise I've ever had was probably Pac Man.
That's absolutely fantastic, and how fitting for this weekend's event. And thank you for coming out to the Mall of America, and enjoy the rest of your weekend here.
Thanks.
Yep.